All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day of Saber Sam's DFS office hours. It is Thursday, May 4th of 2023. May the 4th be with you for all of you Star Wars fans out there. Interesting day. We had the MLB main slate kick off about an hour ago. Good luck to all of you playing the MLB main slate today. Looks like there's a 3-game afternoon slate kicking off in about an hour over on DraftKings. We have an NBA showdown with the Lakers and the Golden State Warriors. We have a 2-game NHL slate later today, and golf, the Wells Fargo Championship, also got started earlier this morning. So a lot of day DFS here to sweat throughout the day. Always makes Thursdays fun here, getting that full day sweat. So good luck to all of you in your contest. For those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Andrew. I'm one of the coaches over here at SaberSim. It's a show where we go over how to use the SaberSim app, answer any and all DFS related questions that come in live in the YouTube chat or over in the office hours channel in our Discord server. If you're not in our Discord, there's a link in the description below to get signed up. Highly recommend it as always. That being said, going to get the app pulled up here. One quick announcement to start the show. I'll mention this again at the end of the show. We will not have a show tomorrow. I will be taking the day off, and Jordan is busy with other tasks and responsibilities that he has. So we will be right back on Monday. It looks like Monday is the 8th. So the 8th will be our next show. So no show tomorrow. I will let everyone know at the end of the show once again here. But looks like we have 3 questions to get us started in the Discord here. So if anybody has any questions, now's a great time to get those in. I'm going to knock these ones out, and we will see where we go from there. Actually, you know what? We had one question come in from support. I tend to miss these. So I'm actually going to start with this support question, and then I will hit Remy's question here in the Discord. But question from support. Hello, I have a question regarding baseball. If a team is like 1 to 3% owned stack, if I like the stack, how much should I get of the stack? 5% as an example here. So really this is a personal question. It is, comes down to how much do you like the stack? How much leverage do you think you need on the stack here? I would say that, in general, I think that if you like a stack for any such reason, I think that it is okay to get like 2 to 3x that stack. I think that is a fine general rule here, but it really comes down to, to me, it comes down to a lot of things, right? And it also comes down to, I think more importantly, what is the size of the stack that you are using, right? And I think that this is a small nuance that probably goes unnoticed for a lot of people here. But let's say there's a team that you're not getting to. We'll use Tampa Bay, for example, here. I know Milwaukee is super popular on this slate here, being the highest implied run total of the day. I'm building for the main slate as if it has not started yet, but just using it as an example. But let's say there's Tampa Bay, right? Tampa Bay is probably lower owned. You're not getting too much of them right out of the gate. You think that they're a good leverage play, right? To me, I do not want to just come into the team stacks tab and then say, okay, I'm going to get to like 10% Tampa Bay. I'm going to set that. I'm going to get my shares of Tampa Bay, and then I'm going to set that and forget that. To me, it's really important to say, what size stack am I getting? And the reason for that here, which I think is important, is that let's say that we get our Tampa Bay stacks in the all cap, and then it comes out that we have two stacks here of Tampa Bay. Really, a 2 stack is a complementary stack. It's probably the secondary stack of some bigger stacks, like a 5-2, a 5-3, a 3-2-2, something along those lines, right? Where that 5 stack is like your primary stack, and then this is like a complementary piece. If you're trying to take a stand where you're saying, hey, Tampa Bay, I think, is in a really good spot. They're going to be low owned. I think they're a good leverage play. I don't think a 2 stack is really a leverage play in my opinion here. So what I would do in this case is I would limit the 2 stacks here. So let's say that I wanted to get even more of them. Let's say I wanted to get 20%, where it's like 4 total stacks out of my 20 here. I would come into the 2 stacks and I would limit this. And I would say probably no more than like half of all my stacks here. So what I would like to say is like, hey, if I'm going to stack Tampa Bay, if I'm going to make this leverage play here, I want to make sure that when this team does good, it has a bigger impact on my lineup overall and probably my place in the standings. I don't think a 2 stack is really going to get you to the top here, but I do think that, you know, possibly like a 3 stack, a 4 stack, a 5 stack could have that impact. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at how many shares or how many total stacks I am wanting to get to here. And then I am going to make sure that a certain percentage of those stacks are bigger stacks, 3 stacks, 4 stacks, 5 stacks here. And we have 2 Tampa Bay 4 stacks. We have 1 Tampa Bay 3 stack. And then we have a 1 Tampa Bay 2 stack. So I'm okay with that allocation here. I think having those 2 4 stacks is more than enough for me here. But I would just say, you know, in general, be careful on this step. I think it's really easy to come to the alt tab, put in a min exposure, think you're going to get leverage on this team. And then it turns out that all of the stacks that you're now getting to are 2 stacks. So they don't really help you that much. And nothing feels worse than when you are right about a leverage play and then it doesn't end up doing too much for you on the other end here. So that is like probably if I had to, you know, want you to take away anything, I would say take away that. The amount of stacks that you get to here is kind of arbitrary. It really depends. You know, what is your confidence interval like for this play? And I would say that, you know, even if the team is only expected to be stacked 1 to 3%, some players are going to want to match. Some players are going to want to get 2 to 3x. Some players are going to want to get a lot of leverage because just such a small percentage of the field is probably playing that stack in this instance here, right? So then you get like max leverage, and then that's like really boomer bust. So can't really tell you, you know, what the right amount is here. Really going to come down to like a personal decision about how much of your portfolio you want allocated to that one team. I would just say be very certain with the type of stack that you're getting for that team is the bigger takeaway in my opinion here. But we will get a timestamp recording of this question back over to you from support. And if you have any follow-up questions, you can let us know and we can pick up the conversation on Monday. All right, getting back to this question from Remy in the Discord. Question is, in the context of MLB Classic and Showdown, are there pros/cons for factoring Geomean pre-build versus filtering post-build? Okay, really good question here. The answer is yes, technically here. So basically, in general, I don't think you need to factor for Geomean in a classic slate in general here. I don't think that that is I don't really think you're ever going to get close to that number here. So basically what you would have to do is you would do the number of dupes as the numerator divided by the number of entries in the contest to the power of 1 over n, where n is the number of players in a lineup. So for a DraftKings classic slate lineup, you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players here as that n value. This is probably going to be particularly like the Geomeans of these lineups are really low. So we see the Geomean here is 5.4, 4.4. You're going to need a huge contest to get to a point where a Geomean filter or rule is actually eliminating lineups from this pool here. So you could test this, right? Pick a contest that you're playing. Maybe it's like a 20,000 entry contest. Do 1 over 20,000 to the power of 1 over 10. See what that Geomean comes out to, and then do a filter. And then I think the chances are very, very likely that you are just going to continuously filter out 0 lineups because none of the Geomeans are going to be that high in general here. So I don't think it comes into play too much with these classic slates. I do think it comes into play with Showdown. So that is like where I would focus this effort in general here. But the main difference is that when you use it as a pre-build aggregate rule, the lineups that are generated are going to have to meet that rule. So what we do is we're going to run a single game simulation here. So like, let's take this Angels St. Louis showdown that already got underway here. What we're going to do is we're run a slate simulation when we're building at Sim Diversity 10. So that is going to be a one game sim. We are going to pull a game sim from our pool of sims and then look at the fantasy points that the player scored in that lineup and then build the optimal lineup from this sim. The problem with doing this rule as a pre-build rule is that if the optimal lineup that gets built from this game sim is over your aggregate geomean that you've set, then the builder has to go back into this lineup and then find the next best construction that meets that criteria. So you're not so there are going to be sims where the optimal lineup is higher than the geomean you have set, and then in those instances you will get non-optimal lineups returned to you because the optimal lineup was higher than that threshold. So we can see this here. I'm going to run 500 sims here, and then I'm going to do a geomean calculation here for this. So let's say we're playing like a 10,000 person contest, and we're going to do 1 divided by 10,000 to the power of 1 divided by 6. I'm just doing this on my calculator. The geomean comes out to 21.5 here. Okay, so then I'm in the post build now. Let's say I want to sort by geomean. We have multiple lineups where the geomean is over this 21.5. Our highest is 31.6, 29.9, 28.9, etc. here, right? So if I go back to my single game metric, just going to sort descending. If I go to filter and then I go to add filter, and then I'm going to say hide lineups where geomean is greater than 21.5. You don't have to use hide. You can use show with less, right? Basically. But now that I've applied this filter, we got rid of 75 lineups from our pool of 500 here. Basically, what would have happened if we had done this as a pre-build rule were these 75 lineups that were generated. These lineups would have come back. These lineups basically would not have been put into your pool. They would have been altered to meet the geomean criteria that you set pre-build. So you would have had 75 lineups here that were not actually sim optimals, and instead were altered to meet this geomean rule that you had set, while 425 of the lineups that you did build would not have been in that situation here. So that is the difference here. By using it as a post-build filter, you could just get rid of the lineups that do not meet that criteria, and knowing that all the lineups were optimal for a game sim. If you do it in the pre-build, you lose some of that value. So that's one of the great reasons to be on the pro plan, is that you get the ability to build custom metrics and then filter for custom metrics. So we can build a geomean custom metric here, and then we can filter for it accordingly using the filters once that custom metric is built. But really good question, Remy. All right. Had a question from Sammy, going back and forth with him here in the office hours channel. Sammy, if you're watching, I'm just going to continue to communicate back and forth here in the Discord. But well, actually, your second point here, I was just a little confused at first. So, okay, so I'm going to take a stab at this one. I think I understand what is going on here. So the original question, this is the original question, and then I'll post Sammy's follow-up. So it said, what is the numerical coefficient of using the rules of at least X amount, no more than X amount, in correlation or even comparison with exactly X amount, regardless of the sport? And then a follow-up was more like, what is the builder looking at? What will be the interpretation? For example, at least 3 as what? No more than 3 in contrast to exactly 3. Will that be the same per lineup, or the at least will be 4 instead of 3, and no more than 3 can be in 2 instead? Or will the exactly be the way to go if, for example, I'm using 3 as the primary number here? Okay, so I'm going to take a stab at this one. If I get this wrong, just let me know in the Discord, and we can continue the conversation here. But I think basically what Sammy is trying to ask is like, hey, a 3 stack satisfies all versions of a rule. So basically, if I say stack at least 3, that means that I'm actually going to go back to Classic Slate for this. So if I'm on a Classic Slate, I have this stacking rule, and then it says, hey, stack, or let's do a group rule. Group automatic rule, it says use at least, and we'll say 3, right, from the same team. So then this would be like a 3-stack rule. If I say use no more than 3, I can also use 3 players. And then if I say use exactly 3, I can also use 3 players. So I think what Sammy's trying to say is like, hey, a 3-stack satisfies all 3 versions of these drop downs that can be selected here. What is the difference? What exactly is going on here? So that's the point of view that I'm going to tackle this from. But if my understanding is different, just let me know. But basically here, what I imagine you're trying to ask is like, what is the difference between exactly at least no more than if one stack can satisfy all 3 answers here. So basically what the lineup rules are, think of it as like a bouncer at like a door, right? Letting you in or not. So what we're doing is we're generating all of these lineups, and once the lineups are generated, they have to pass through the door to be put into the pool. And this lineup rule is standing at the door saying, okay, do you meet this criteria here? And based on the criteria of exactly 3. So let's say I have a lineup that's generated and I had this exactly 3 rule. Let's say that the lineup has 4 players and no 3-stack. The rule is going to say, hey, you do not meet the criteria for this rule. Go back and I don't know, put on some dress shoes or something like that. You know what I mean? Get out of here and come back when you meet the proper criteria to get in the door. And that's going to be different for all of these rules, right? So if I have use at least 3 and then I see a 4-stack, that's fine. Come on in. And then if I have no more than, and if I have a 2-stack here of a team, then the builder is going to let that lineup go into the pool. So depending on what these drop downs are just criteria that a lineup has to either meet or not exceed in order to get into the pool. But the builder is going to use this rule to interpret all of those lineups differently. And that is basically what is going on. But the lineups are being generated, and then they are and then this rule is what is determining if it can get into your pool that you see on the other side there. So that is my understanding of what you were trying to ask. Let me know if I missed anything there. Happy to circle back to it. All right. Next question here from Kevlar. That's our last question at the moment. If anybody has any additional questions, now is a great time to get them in. And I asked for a little clarification here. Didn't look like Kevlar had seen that yet, so I'm just going to roll with what my understanding of the question was here. But question says, when making adjustments post-build and you get the unable to meet requirements message and it asks you to continue editing or send exposures, is there a way for it to not put back anyone you removed from your lineup pool post-build? I find myself removing multiple players. When I go back to rebuild, they are back in the pool. Thanks. So what it sounds to me is that Kevlar is here in the post-build. He's making adjustments. He's, Xing some players out maybe. He's putting in some min-max exposures. He's running into the can't meet exposures message here. And let me see if I can just get this to go here. So when you zero these players out, it's going to uncheck them from your post build here. And I'm Xing all these players out. I can't believe that I still have lineups. Okay, boom. Unable to meet exposures. So then it sounds like what's happening is that Kevlar is hitting the send exposures button and putting them back here. So a couple things here. So even though they are unchecked here in the post build, when I hit that send exposures, if you have 0 max exposure for somebody, that is going to get sent. And although the player is checked, again, those 0 max exposures are going to be put in. So even though it looks like the player is in the player pool, this zero max exposure that was now sent from the post build is going to prevent them from being in any lineups here. So so just remember that this zero max exposure is active. So even if the player is green and checked, they're not going to get into any lineups here. But on a more general note here, although we sent the exposures, usually any adjustments that you make here, unless you hit send exposures, or send both, those are going to be relative to this build. So if I run into, hey, can't meet your exposures, if I go back to the home screen and without clicking the send arrow, send exposures, send projections, send both, the adjustments that I made in this screen are not going to go to the home screen on their own. They're going to be local to this build here, and nothing in the home screen is going to be adjusted. So if you're making exposure adjustments, projection adjustments, if those matter to you, I would make sure to hit the send both button, send those to the home screen, and then do your next build, and then those should come up. But just be aware that if you do a zero max exposure in the post build, that is going to uncheck the player from your player pool. If you do a zero max exposure in the home screen, that is not going to have that effect. However, it will require that no shares of these players are used in any subsequent builds that you run from this point on here. But let me know if there's any follow-up on that question here. And it looks like that was our last question at the moment. I know today is an interesting day with all these sports getting started early, people getting their lineups in early and then going about their days here. So it is okay if this ends up being a shorter stream here. I was having some trouble getting the stream up and running here on Google Chrome, which is what I normally use. If anybody is running into that issue similarly to I was, the app works perfectly fine on Microsoft Edge, and it also works fine as an incognito window on Google Chrome. I haven't seen any support tickets related to that. Could be just on my end. But in case anybody else was running into it, just wanted to let you all know about that little nuance there. But all right, everybody, I think we're going to wrap there. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Like I said, we will be back on Monday, May 8th for our next show, taking tomorrow off. And so with that being said, good luck to all of you in your contests over the weekend here. If you guys are building lineups, have a question, drop it in the office hours channel. Let it sit there and we will get back to you. I think somebody will be around to answer questions tomorrow. I'm sure Jordan will poke his head in the office hours channel and answer any questions that anybody might have. But until Monday, take care. I will see you. Good luck and bye.